Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US indices. We'll look at the S&P and the NASDAQ, and they're doing slightly different things. But from the S&P 500 here, I'm looking at this here being the wave 4 here, and this being wave 1 and 2 here, and all of this being wave 3 here with an A and a B and a C for wave 4 back at the 2410 is the 38.2% retracement level. May not come all this way down because the wave 4 of 1 and lesser degree is at 2420 or just below, but certainly we're in a correction. And I do have to say that this count is a little bit of a guess. It's just that I don't think the failure would be at this particular point in the structure. It would be higher up through here. So, the other way to look at this is the way we're looking at it at the moment is having wave 3 can either go, well, it can either go on any one of these, but I prefer it over here if that's going to be the case, and wave 4 in here, and then wave 5 here sitting like this here. But it just leaves the wave 5 here too short compared to wave 1 and 3. It doesn't make sense to me. So even though this is all a bit messy here, I think that I just want to present this case anyway. So let's just see how this goes, and we'll talk about this a little bit further as such. But certainly it does appear that we're in an A and a B and a C correction here, and that would also line up with the NASDAQ as well. So with this one here on the 1 hour chart here, we can look at it like this here. We've got a 5-wave structure down here, so we can look at this as the A wave, then a small A wave here, a little B wave into here, and a C wave up to here. So we should be working down from these points here in, somewhere down into these lows here for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. This is what sort of thinking at this stage, so we'll play that there. The move down through here, you'll need to count 5 waves. So once that 5 waves is completed at this point, then there'll be a retracement, and then you can pretty much draw a line through the low. If that moves up here in 3 waves here, then you can look at that, draw that angle across here and take that short trade and work it down here. The NASDAQ is pretty much on track here of what we've been expecting in terms of the move down here in 5 waves here, and then an A wave, a B wave, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the C wave, for the B wave. So we could really start shorting this on a sort of breach of this low here. So I'll just put that in here, and if the NASDAQ and the S&P fall together, well then that will be on sort of track there. Of course, the other interesting thing here is that if support is found on 5.8 here, then we've got a bullish market here. And I always like to use the videos to look at both sides to understand where we are. And the reason for that, if we look at this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here, then that makes up the C wave here. So it shouldn't go any further than that current little high here. Okay, and so if it does, it means that something's not right, and it means that in this case would be a bullish case, bullish scenario. And in that scenario, we would have to look at this as this being a B wave here and a C wave here. So an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave to this point here, and that would be the correction completed at that stage, and we'd see it move up from there. So if it was going to move up here higher also too, that we'd need to look at this here. How would it do that? So if I put that, you can refine that a little bit later, but somewhere in there. And then we can just look for our 50 and 60% retracement level here. So that's in there. Just move these other segments here. We don't need those now. We're just tracing out a move before. So that's good. So if this was going to move down, then it would move down in 3 as well. I'll just draw an A and a B and a C here. It'd be something like that, and then move up from there. So if you were looking for a target zone, then that 5,700 would be it. And if you can work out that because it's a 61.8% of the previous move here, if it's in 5 waves, then you know that it's going to be bearish from that point. If it's going to be in 3 waves down here, then we know that it's going to be bullish at that point. Well, that would be the bias as well, because getting a move from one point from A to B here, if it's in at the 61.8%, if it's in 5 waves, well then that will give you the direction. If it's in 3 waves, well then it'll be a counter trend. So let's see how that goes. But in one way or another, we can expect this to move down through there. So I'll just put them in a lighter colour here, just so we know that they're sort of alternative counts at this stage. So yeah, close that and that. Right, okay, so that's it. So in a nutshell, if you see Friday bearish, then you'll know that the trigger is where it is just here, and you'll know where the problem area is in here, and that would it's where you trade to, and wait for the bounce. If it is 5 waves too, you'd still want to get out and wait for the bounce, and then work the trade back in from that point there. The first resistance line will come from the good old trend line, so I should have brought that down a bit into there. Let me just fix that up a little bit. The other point too, that why I'm here, is that when you're looking for the first sort of move down, the first resistance point, you can also go to this 61.8% in here as well, of course, and that will give you your first space that you need to navigate within here. And that just happens to be quite close to that trend line in this case here, depending how far out it goes, you know what I mean? So they will be your problem areas, which will gravitate to the 50 area here. So if we had to draw that down here now, that would be into this space here, back up into supply here, and then down into here. That would be a little bit more accurate there, and I'll just save that. But as it stands at the moment, because we've got 5 waves here, we can look at, it's a shame that this is below here. If this wasn't quite below there, then I could really confirm that it would have been an A and a B and a C, but because it's moved below that, it can be this alternative count here. Okay, let's see how we go with that. At least you know that if support is found on 5.8, then it has to be bullish from that point. Alrighty, cheers.